Good Saturday morning and welcome to the Pleasure for Health podcast. My name is Ailsa Kepi, and you can always find out more about me, my programs, and my coaching offers on my website, which is at www.pleasureforhealth.com. So today I thought we'd actually dive into a topic which a lot of people ask me about, and I've also heard that many people want to know more about, but are too afraid to ask. And this is the topic of why would you hire a sex and intimacy coach? What's the point of doing that? You know, do I only go there if I'm really desperate, or is this something that the mainstream population is actually getting on board with? So we're going to dive into why you would hire a sex and intimacy coach. And I think there's such a wide range of reasons why clients might seek out a coach in the realm of sex and intimacy. But here's something to consider. These days you can take courses in almost any topic. We can take courses on, how to fly a plane. You can take courses on how to create an online course. You can take courses on how to make a podcast. But why wouldn't we want to take a course on how to have better sex or how to navigate relationships? These are the types of learnings that, we don't want to leave behind. Sex is one of the most pleasurable things that most of us find in our life, especially as we, obviously when we're old, when we're mature enough to engage consensually in these types of acts, or even with ourselves. It's about pleasure. It's about enjoying being in our body. And so if we just assume that this type of pleasure and engagement with others, navigating relationships, navigating sexual encounters and erotic play sessions with other people is a complex thing. For those of you that have tried that, you can probably attest to the fact that it's complex. And if we just assume that we all know how to do that, and so we don't need to learn anything, I think we're grossly, you know, underestimating what can be possible with this. So, sex coaches, intimacy coaches, relationship coaches, we all have studied this topic. We've personally investigated these topics, usually for ourselves. We are often trained in body awareness. We're trained in relational aspects of psychology. We're trained in just navigating different types of eroticism. We're often, specializing in particular aspects of relationships. There's coaches that specialize in polyamorous and, counternormative type of relationships. There's coaches that specialize in working with couples or families where one of the people in the relationship has had an accident or an illness where they've ended up handicapped in some way, and they need to relearn, maybe the normal way that, or the way that they used to enjoy intimacy. And now they need to reshape that, relearn it. And if you haven't got some skills on how to do how to work with that, you can just end up really frustrated. And I've seen a number of clients in my work where one particular man, well, the couple was retired, and he ended up in hospital and for many months, and so became kind of an invalid, and his partner ended up looking after him. And so in that sense, that relationship changed a lot. One person became a caregiver, one person was the invalid, if you will, needed caring for. And so their relationship became much more one-sided in that aspect, or one directional. And it was difficult for them to enjoy a mutually gratifying sex life at that point because of this inequality in what they were able to do. And so, we worked on some things where, they could each enjoy their own things, what they could find as a as a crossing over point was maybe different than what, maybe when they were 30. And they found ways to enjoy intimacy and connection, by kind of, we creatively came up with new ways to do that that fit their current circumstances. So I think that's one really obvious time when a sex and intimacy coach can be super helpful, because we get stuck in resentment, we get stuck in trauma responses to an accident, we get stuck in just not knowing what to do. We get stuck in avoidance. We're tired of, changing bandages all the time, perhaps with our partner. It doesn't feel very sexy anymore. Maybe their body looks different. Maybe they've lost a limb. It's hard to, maybe it triggers you to remember the accident every time you look at them. What is actually going on could be, definitely something that you would want to work on. And, as much as the sex coaching and relationship coaching also intersects with perhaps your psychologist or your counselor and your massage therapist, someone who touches and works with your body in a pleasurable way. So there's so many aspects, but definitely if we just say sex doesn't matter anymore, I don't need it, we're actually cutting ourselves off from a huge part of life. So this is one way that, a sex and intimacy coach can really add to the quality of life. There's that's one aspect. Maybe if you have grown up and with trauma, or with a relational history where you don't really know how to interact with others and get your needs met, or share yourself, share your fantasies, or share, what you want. And so your relationships always end up falling short of your expectations. So there's a difference between what you would like to have and what you have. This is a really awesome reason to hire a sex and intimacy coach, because we can dive into, what are you, let's just go all in with what are you wanting? Who are you if in your erotic self, and in your wildest dreams, what would that look like? And we often create a relationship between you and your own body to begin with, and be able to communicate, be able to, unpack the shame that covers up sometimes what people are feeling. And then once we've kind of created that relationship with you and been able to, you can actually be honest and communicate with yourself, it opens up way more possibilities of how to find a partner or partners that can intersect with your desires and can meet some of your desires. And I say some because it's very difficult for one person to ever meet all of your desires. And again, often relationships are about this co-created middle ground where we get some of our needs met and we meet some of our partner's needs. And some of our needs, may either be met outside of the relationship, hopefully consensually, or with ourselves, or just, in a different way. So all of these are ways to work with that. I worked with a couple that, one partner was quite kinky, had a particular kink they really liked. They liked cuckolding, which is, watching your partner with someone else. And his partner was not that into that particular kink, but they loved each other. They wanted to be together. They wanted to work together. And they wanted to find a middle ground. Like, how could they enjoy an erotic life together? And we also discussed, how could you maybe discuss having one partner meet some of their needs outside of the relationship, if that works out better for them, if they can't do without that, for instance. And, do you value the relationship itself over and above, and discuss ways of working with that. There's professionals in all sorts of ways that could, step in and provide some of those aspects that maybe one or both partners would want. So that was a case where having me come in as a sex and intimacy coach was a great way for them to begin to talk to each other really honestly about, hey, this is as far as I want to go towards what you're asking for. And, this is as far as I want to go. And they found a middle ground, and they enjoy that middle ground together. And I think they've explored. I gave them some referrals to people where they could explore more edgy things that their partner wasn't into with someone, another professional, or finding another person to add to their relationship mix. There's all types of ways to look at that. But just having someone else, like a sex coach, come in and help you have those conversations can be really great. So those are a couple of reasons why you might hire a sex and intimacy coach. There's the obvious one in more normative families where you have young children, and all of a sudden your dating life is, takes a nosedive, crashes and burns, and you just don't have anybody to talk to about it. You're both tired and cranky, and you can't find a way out of it. And if you just end up being snappy with your partner, it really doesn't help build your relationship. Then your kids realize you're not having a great relationship, and it can put a lot of strain on the family life altogether. So it's so important as, parents of young kids to continue to have your own pleasure, your own relationship away from the kids at times. And I say that having four children of my own, so I'm not I'm not talking off the top of my head about that. I absolutely know how important that is. So these are some of the main reasons why you might hire someone as a sex and intimacy coach. And if you're looking for someone, you definitely want to check out their credentials. You definitely want to take a look at their website. You want to look at, what associations they've joined. You might want to look at, what those associations' ethical standards might be. You might even want to see if they have a statement on their website of how they work with people. You definitely want to do your homework and make sure that you're getting the right type of coach for you. Um, there are certifications in all sorts of things. However, they differ quite greatly. And as I'm currently working on an ethical board in North America on some of this, there's differences of codes of conduct in practice, and there's not really much regulation. So you do want to do your homework. You want to make sure you're comfortable with this person, because you're sharing your intimate life, your intimate details with this with a sex or intimacy coach, and you want to make sure that they are, keeping things like confidentiality, and that they are keeping your best interest in at front and center of any sessions, and things like that. So if you are interested in, definitely reach out to me on my website. I can send you some questions to ask, some things to consider if you're looking into having a sex or intimacy coach. I will try to send that out in one of my blog posts. I think I'll add that to my blog list of upcoming releases. So you want to do your homework. You also want to look at the cost. I know some of you are saying, oh, it's been a hard financial year and a half for most of us. How do we put value on our relationship? Shouldn't this just happen? We need to save all our money for paying our rent or our mortgage or, the gas to get to work, however you do that. But what I would say to you to consider is this. Think about a time in your life where you've had a good relationship, even if it's just been a fleeting one, but you felt good. You were having great sex and intimacy. You were, satisfied. You were happy with your partner. You were enjoying life. Now, see if you can remember that time. Maybe it's now, but think about how that felt, and think about how productive you were, how optimistic and positive you felt, how healthy you felt because you had all these great hormones, and neurotransmitters and chemicals in your body flowing around. Think about that kind of feeling and tell me how much you think that's worth. We often self-soothe with things like watching Netflix or getting a fancy coffee from Starbucks or overeating or getting comfort food. And you think about how that makes you feel. And no judgment really. If it makes you feel great, awesome. But often, we spend money and time doing things that aren't really adding to our sense of well-being and health. And sex and relationships are probably the central part of being human, being the animal human that we are. And so, where we place that as far as value, I feel should be pretty high up on the list, if not the highest thing on the list. So, my point is this. If and I do this too, if you go and get a coffee somewhere, it can easily be $5 a day on a coffee. Now, if you made your coffee at home, or, something like that, you skipped your coffee for the day, you just have your one in the morning and then you drink more water, and you saved that $5 a day, at the end of a month, you would have, $100. And most sex and intimacy coaches, that would be nearly enough to get a session. And you think about what a session would offer you. It offers you the chance to work, to have a way forward. I've had 1 hour sessions with people where they were so grateful to go home and work on the exercises. Even only one session a month can transform your life and relationships. We can give you resources, we can give you practice things to do at home, we can help you through some of the obstacles and blocks that have gotten in the way of your love life. And you go home and you're pumped all month. How much is that worth to you? To me, $100 is absolutely worth that. So, that's a good start. And if it's, if a lot of relationship and intimacy coaches, depending on what kind of specializations they have, maybe more, maybe a bit more than that. And, you just say, hey, how much is this worth? Is it worth, I used to take my 4 kids out to the movie theater. It easily cost me $100 to get movie tickets for 5 of us and popcorn or something like that. It was nearly $100. And so again, I ask, and it was fun and it was great to go out, but where am I going to place my value on myself and my relationships? And maybe it's worth spending that money on it. So even if you have to sell some extra things from your garage on Kijiji, clear out your house. You'll probably feel really good about that too. Marie Kondo your house, sell some stuff, get some money together. Honestly, between 1 and 3 sessions with a really good sex coach can catapult you into a new realm, a new level of relationships. So this is worth it. So find those old things in your garage, clear it out. Take on an extra shift if you need to at work to pay for this. Go look into some of the options. I know in some countries you can have options for PayPal you can get what do they call it, pay in installments back to PayPal, but pay the full amount to the person, things like that. You can get credit. It's worth it. Imagine how much more energy you'll have, how much more positivity you're gonna have, how much better your relationship is gonna go. If your relationship is crashing and burning right now, how much is that draining you? How much is that making you have to take a sick day off work? How much is your stress level sending your blood pressure through the roof right now? All of these things can actually be addressed with pleasure, sex, and intimacy and relationships. These are the ways that we co-regulate. These are the ways we help each other through trying times. So, you get my drift. And whether you decide to work with me or another sex and intimacy coach, there's many great ones out there. Like I said, do your research, get clear on what exactly you are looking for. Are you looking for counter-normative relational coaching? Are you looking for couples coaching? Are you looking for personal growth? Are you looking for how to handle an illness or a disability? Are you looking for kink related alternative lifestyle stuff? Do a little bit of questioning, and if you need help with what to even think about, reach out on my website, pleasureforhealth.com. Sign up for my newsletter while you're there. I do write I write copious blog posts, and I will address some of this in those. You can write to me on there, message me, and ask me for some guidance on what to look for, or for some referrals. I have a pretty good network all over the world. You might want to work online, you might want to work in person. So if you are just thinking that, yes, this is the missing link in my life, reach out to me, sign up for my newsletter, write me a message. Let's connect and let's get you on the way to a more pleasure-filled life. So that's my spiel for today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you have any questions, reach out. Pleasureforhealth.com is my website. And my name is Elsa Kepi, and I look forward to having you listen in again on my podcast.